Welcome, my friends, to another Alliteration gaming video. My name is Levi, and of course, you know him, you love him. I've got the boy Willy T here with me to showcase another one of his deck profiles. This time, it's going to be all about Tenya Iida III from Crimson Rampage. Will, take it away, man.
Yeah, so the goal behind playing Iida 3 on Void is to play some really sick kicks and actually make some really big acceleration kick plays, being able to clear a whole lot of cards out of the card pool, and turn that all into extra speed for a really, really big kick to the shins.
So, of course, Iida being one of the newest proprietors of the almighty kick package, famous in Set 1. Now, what exactly does he bring to the table on it this time around with this form of his character?
So, Iida 3 being a 7-hander is a really efficient way to get those kicks out and get them playing into the combos that you want to see. The other thing that makes him really efficient is his enhance to ready a 1 or 0 difficulty foundation every turn. It makes some things like fusion and resistance really, really good offensive and defensive tools to slow things down or reduce damage respectively. So it makes him a very efficient platform to play out kick strings, but also keep yourself alive on.
Yeah, he's a really, really nice character card, you know, kind of combining the nice aspects of Iida 2, the 7-hand size, the defensive capabilities, but with that kind of really, really powerful speed pump that Iida 1 could bring, all in one nice package. Of course, you know, a lot of free momentum and a lot of free readying things, but that's only going to be as good as the foundations with printed difficulty 1 or less in our deck.
Absolutely.
So let's get into our deck and see how it supports our man here. All right, so let's start off with the attacks.
So we're starting off with 4 copies of Recipro Extend. This is your primary combo starter. It's really good for being not only an efficient 4-diff attack, but it's also going to draw yourself a card, so it cantrips itself, and it makes your next attack, your next kick, because all of these are kicks, even better. It gives it an extra 2 speed, 2 damage, makes everything that comes after it a little bit more threatening.
Yeah, it's like never attack you really want to block because you're always like, well, it's going to leave me possibly in a position to be unable to block this next kick that's coming in even bigger. And then you just make that one unblockable anyway, and it's just tons and tons of free stats.
Yeah, absolutely. Recipro Extend is definitely a card that people don't feel like there's a good answer for.
Yeah, I think Extend is just one of those cards that really defines the kick package, I think. And of course, the newest addition to the kick package...
Yeah, 4 copies of Rebound Sidekick. This card is insane with Recipro Extend. Being able to give extra stats on a flash move is really, really fantastic. And it's also a card that can really start your engine going with Iida, pun intended, where if they do block it, you put it into the momentum, and all you need is 1 momentum to just get the fire going. The other thing that it also winds up doing is sometimes they just don't block it because they don't want you to have the momentum in that moment. So there's really not a good answer to either Recipro Extend or Rebound Sidekick because they both achieve what your goal is, which is generate momentum and start things off to the races.
Yeah, they're just such fantastic opener and flow cards that are really tough for your opponent to really, they can't deny you all the value in them one way or another.
I'm going to get some value out of it no matter what you do.
And then next we've got 4 copies of this bad boy right here.
Yep, High Engine Kick is another one of those flow cards that I really like. I am a player who, my favorite thing to do in the game is draw cards. I love drawing cards. So getting more cards through my hand and turning that into speed is a really good way to make very efficient pokes and get the starting momentum that I need. This card is my primary poke tool, where I'll discard a card that I don't need currently and turn that into extra speed in order to just get a couple of damage through.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of speed on these things is just insane. I mean, only 4 damage, but like an 8 high for 4 is like practically a guaranteed 4 damage.
Or you do it after a Recipro Extend and it's a 10 high for 6.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strongest things about the kick packages. You can see we have all of these really strong pokes that, like, in the early turns of the game are almost unblockable, and even if your opponent's in a situation where they can block them, they're more than likely putting themselves in a position where anything that follows is unblockable. And it's just a matter of free damage or just free pokes, depending on how many cards you're having to commit to.
Yeah, and it becomes very resource inefficient to try to block something that's that high speed. It takes a lot of committing, a lot of foundations to make something that's that fast. not a threat to you.
Yeah, and then I mean, once you get to the late game, and you can just start chaining these things like crazy. It's it's 6 speed after 8 speed after 10 speed, and eventually it's hard for your opponent to just keep up with the potency of the package.
Absolutely.
Speaking of very, very fast moves,
yes, this is an old Iida 1 favorite, and probably one of my favorite cards in the deck. I only run it at 2 because it is sometimes not the most efficient thing, but it is a great way to start your chains, is to slam down an engine rush and dare them to take it. It is sometimes just free 5 damage and you draw 2 cards. Sometimes you draw out that block and you bait that card that they really should have needed for later, just to prevent you from getting that extra card advantage in your turn. It's a really fantastic way to just force your opponent into a no-win scenario.
Yeah, I mean, just 5 min for 5 is such a good place to start off with, and then just the ability between the keywords to flex it as as an even better poke or an even bigger finisher, or just simply a really good flow card if you can put it into where, hey, look, do you want to deal with this 5-speed move right now? Do you want to block it? Not let me draw my 2, and then you're open to all of my other moves hitting you early game. It's Again, it's just, it puts them in really, really, really hard positions to be in.
And never discount the fact that it also has the enhance. These XRs don't have it because they're misprinted. But ending the enhance step is really, really valuable sometimes. Being able to deny someone their ability to interact with your kick can be very, very impactful.
Yeah, just slam that down, and then maybe you the fact that you can go recipro extend into this, and then your first enhance can just be the enhance step.
Yep, 7 mid for 7.
Deal with my 7 mid for 7, bro.
Yep.
Or you give them in 1 enhance, and then you probably draw cards off of it too. It's it's really strong.
Yep, it's very, very strong.
And then out for our big finishing moves,
yes.
right?
4 copies of what I call the most important card in the deck is recipro acceleration kick. This is your big finisher. Being able to recipro extend into rebound side kick into other things, play out a couple of kicks, have rebound side in your momentum already, and then play this guy. Get those extra kicks into the card pool for EX and just turn everything into even more speed is such a great combo to just pump out a 10-12 damage attack. It's so fast, it's hard for anybody to interact with.
Yeah, I mean, just starting with at such a big base damage, and then having that EX2, and then just being able to turn any copies of Rebound in your momentum into +2/+2 on this is crazy. Iida restoring a free momentum when you use the EX, you really start to see the combos come together with a card like Acceleration Kick, and it makes it really obvious how we like to interact with our moves as our new Iida III Deck character.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely want a lot of attacks that have EX so we can get that momentum churn going. And it really does make a huge difference to be able to just dump out your momentum and then refresh it a little bit too.
Yeah, and the fact that you can flow these really well too. The fact that it clears your card pool, meaning you can actually play more kicks after it too. It doesn't have to be your all or nothing move. It can just be the thing that commits them out.
Yeah, it's very satisfying to do something like recipro extend, recipro acceleration kick, throw a couple of rebound side kicks into the card pool, clear it all, play another kick, play another recipro acceleration kick in order to do it all again. It can lead to some really crazy strings.
Yep. And it's nice too because if you get them down to the last card in hand, this and recipro burst are your big finishers, which are both lows.
Yep.
So if they're holding on to that last low, you can make them discard it and then
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of it makes itself even harder to block because it takes that predictable I know what I have into I hope the top card of my deck is what I need.
Yeah, that one low block you've been holding on to for either this or the burst, it's gone, buddy.
Yep.
And then, of course, we've been talking about it. We have
3 copies of Recipro Burst. This card feels exceptionally good on Iida 3 because you're able to dump your entire momentum into speed with the EX3 and then use the response on Iida 1 to put another card into your momentum to then use that for the extra damage. It is a fantastic finisher in those scenarios where you just need one big move that they cannot survive.
Yeah, I mean, Iida's response basically says we put an extra 3/3 on this to start off with, which is just wild, you know?
And this is definitely an attack that if you get it big enough after you've been chipping away at him, this can one-shot Kirishima too through his response.
I mean, yeah, no, it can. I've seen some recipro bursts get horrendously big.
Yup.
You know, especially when they essentially start off at 6 speed, 8 damage because of Iida III.
Yep. It is absolutely crazy to just like go through all that and being able to just turn somebody's health bar from full to 0 in one go.
Yeah, no, the aggressiveness, like, that's what's so nice about Iida finally moving up to that 7 hand size, right? It lets him be a lot more aggressive with the kick package, but also the kick package is so fluid in aggressing late game and defending early game that having those 7 cards really just gives you the best of both worlds throughout that whole sequence.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, cool. That concludes the attacks, so let's get on to the foundations.
Hey you! You like the My Hero Academia collectible card game, right? If the answer is at least a resounding probably, you should head right on over to unfundstuff.com for all of your MHA CCG purchasing needs. We've got the new set Heroes Clash on pre-order, as well as the new DLC 2 in stock. And if you want to use coupon code Wealthy Aspirations, you can get 5% off your entire freaking order and also support old Levi a little bit along the way. The link for all this is going to be right down in the description below, so get on over there and go get yourself some amazing product from some amazing people. Back to the video.
As powerful as our kick attack package is, our foundations that support it are equally as important.
Yep.
Starting off
with 4 copies of the boy himself, Heroic Lineage. This card is both your defensive ace in the hole and also your offensive I need a little extra in a pinch. It is very, very flexible in that regard, being able to use the response when your opponent is getting more damage, or to be able to give yourself speed and then give yourself damage as a consequence is a great way to finish out games or prevent yourself from dying.
Yeah, just having these be able to sit on the back burner as extra damage increments to make your pokes even stronger, and then just being your core defensive speed reduction piece and a 7 hand size character that wants to block a lot, you know, that's just invaluable.
Yep, absolutely. Probably the best foundation in the deck.
Another one of our key defensive pieces,
Villains Defeated. This card is absolutely fantastic at keeping 7-handers alive, and it also just clears out a lot of combos. There are a lot of combo-reliant decks out in the meta now. If you can do this on attacks and prevent a double jab pummel from coming through by getting its combo out of the way, or getting punches out of the way for Texas Smash, it's a great way to prevent big plays from your opponent while also keeping yourself alive.
Yeah, heck, even removing your opponent's own combo kicks, right?
Absolutely.
And it's a really nice answer to basically any throws as well. It's like, you know, you get to still keep them off of their momentum. You get to deny electric jolts.
Yes.
I mean, this is a card I've been singing the praises of since set 1. Yep. This has always been one of my favorite foundations. Especially in, you know, the throw decks have certainly calmed down a little bit in this meta, but they're certainly still running around, and as a little 20 health character now, it's really important that we have some counterplay to those.
Yeah, and 20 health feels kind of bad, but with Villains Defeated, sometimes you're 24 or 26.
Yeah,
so it makes a big difference.
Seeing a lot of these can basically make you feel like a 6 hand size character defensively, which is nice. In the best way possible.
Absolutely.
Continue on with very powerful defensive pieces.
Yeah, let's hit it. 3 copies of Spooky. I had to bump this up to 3 copies.
Got to, man.
It is such an invaluable tool when you have the ability to reduce someone's speed in any way, shape, or form, to be able to turn throws that gain damage into 0 damage moves. Being able to utilize this with Heroic Lineage is absolutely fantastic. With Fusion, with training with Gunhead, there's a lot of ways that you could really utilize this foundation, despite it being unique, in order to really mess with what your opponent does. The other thing that's really nice, it is something that I really want to see every game, which is why I put it at 3 instead of something like a 2, because I have so many ways, such as High Engine Kick, in order to actually get rid of this card out of my hand, or I can block with it, and there's ways to make that happen. The other thing that playing it at multiple copies in Void allows you to do is commit 1 Spooky in order to switch an attack and make it much less threatening, and then block with one, and then respond with Manly Passionate Guy in order to get it in, get the one that you committed out, and be able to do it all over again.
Yeah, it's just such a powerful card. It says a lot that, the majority of the decks are playing this at 3 copies as a unique 2-diff with a 3 high block. Definitely says a lot. I mean, your opponent's always looking to flip or destroy or remove it in some way that you really just want to be able to replace it. You want to be able to replace it if you lose it and also find it ASAP, especially in certain matchups.
Yes, absolutely.
Another very, very, very matchup-dependent card here.
Yep, 3 copies of Confused. Confused is fantastic for fiddling with your opponent's keywords and removing throw. And it really messes with a lot of people's heads. Now, one thing that it does not do is remove the ability to use keywords for combo. This is mostly a PSA out there for people who think that Confused turns off the combo. It doesn't. Combo checks for printed keywords, but Confused is still very good at removing those elements to prevent things from interacting with certain elements of cards. Deku 1 being able to discard his hand in order to give his punch attack plus 10 damage. Well, it's not a punch anymore, so you can't throw the entire hand at me.
Yeah, this is just definitely proven itself to be one of the stronger interaction pieces outside of set 2. A card with a lot of really, really good case scenarios and interactions, especially defensively surviving as a 20 health character nowadays.
Absolutely.
Continuing on with these insanely powerful defensive pieces.
Yep. 2 copies of Dissolving the Conflict. This one is absolutely fantastic for keeping yourself alive when you are below half. There are going to be times where you're going to take a little bit of chip damage, and there were times that I would get myself purposely down to below 10 health in order to force the issue with my opponent, have them play an attack and have to commit foundations in order to pass the check, and then just Dissolving the Conflict in order to put it back in their hand, make them recheck, and potentially check worse. Sometimes this thing just ends their turn because they can't afford to pay for a big move twice.
Yeah, I mean, it just has so many good interactions. Gets around things like All Might 2's damage pump. Gets around things like double jabs, check pumping, anything that check bonuses in general. Things like long lasting that pass stats to the next
Setup strike.
Setup strike. Yeah, there's just a lot of really, really powerful scenarios for this card. Definitely warrants its place as a defensive card in our deck.
Yup. Next is going to be 2 copies of Taiyaki Fanatic. This is not only a fantastic deadlock threat, but it's also a good way to keep your rival off of certain key pieces of their board, or to punish things with a very high cost. Something that discards momentum or destroys foundations, anything like that. And being able to cancel those kinds of abilities is really, really punishing in a lot of situations. The other thing that this does is it keeps you relatively safe in life matchups against Quick Create, because it's going to let you cancel that Deadlock Enhance.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic little control piece. We're not like a control deck, but we are still a 7-hand size character that wants to keep ourselves alive to the late game in some capacity. So
absolutely. And in order to keep yourself alive in the Void symbol, you have to play some elements of control. They are not the heaviest parts of your deck, but they are definitely something that you have to be aware of, and you have to control what your rival is doing in order to keep yourself alive.
Best foundation in our deck?
Best foundation in the deck.
Boom!
Fusion! This card is absolutely fantastic in Iida 3. Gives you the ability to pump up your speed, reduce your rival's speed, and it is a 1 difficulty foundation that you can ready with Iida's Enhance.
Yep.
So you can use it on your turn to get extra speed, and then you can use it on their turn to get minus speed. And it is something that is absolutely instrumental to being able to get a little bit of extra damage through on any of those symbols.
Yeah, I mean, of course, neither of these enhances being once per turn means we can ready away with Iida and go crazy with them. 1 foundation being the equivalent of +4 speed across a turn, or -4 speed is just a really powerful exchange.
Very high value.
Yeah, it's an extremely, extremely efficient card in general, but especially within our character and his interactions with it.
Absolutely. Next is 4 copies of Manly Passionate Guy. This is a card that really helps you get ahead while you're on defense. It lets you build extra cards out of your hand, and it is a very efficient foundation. The other thing that you can do, you have the luxury of committing it during your own turn with Iida, if you feel that you are relatively secure, because you can ready it with Iida himself during your rival's turn in order to lure your opponent into a false sense of security. Oh, he's not going to get to build during my turn. Surprise, I am.
Yeah, it's just so strong too in the void symbol because, like, for one, our block modifiers are all pretty suspect, so being able to clear our progressive on blocking is really nice.
Yes.
And then also, kind of like how you talked about with Spooky, there's so many, all these foundations we've tailored as these really strong defensive pieces. Being able to block with one of them, build it out of nowhere, can just really suddenly mess up your opponent's turn.
Yep, a Dissolving the Conflict, a Taiyaki Fanatic, a Confused that your rival wasn't expecting, the fact that you really mess with stuff.
The fact that you can block with a villain's defeated, build it down, and then respond with it in the same vein is really powerful. So there's a lot
all within that same window.
Yep, a lot of really, really cool surprises that can mess up your opponent's aggro when it comes from the Manly Passionate Guy.
Absolutely. Next is 4 copies of Tape.
Man, we got some nutty spams in this deck.
Yes, absolutely. Tape is another one of those spams that you can ready with Iida, but primarily this is there to help you prevent yourself from dying on defense. Allows you to change and correct things with your rival zones, or a little bit of extra speed reduction in a pinch.
Yeah, I mean, Tape is just such a generically powerful card. Has so many good interactions.
Very versatile.
Yeah,
very versatile.
Yeah, flip for -2 speed's like always good. Flip make anything a mid. Again, zone manipulation in 7 hand-sized characters who want to play defensively is just always going to be
absolutely
really strong. Yep. Another one of our great spams here.
Yep, this one is
nice
class
card.
Yeah, 3 copies of Class 1A President. This is one of those foundations that you will find incidental value out of. It is not going to come up on every single attack you play, but it is going to make your pokes significantly better. If you build 1 or 2 of these in the early game and you just go, yeah, I'll just throw a 8 or 10 speed high engine kick after a recipro burst, or recipro extend. And yeah, I'll just put 2 or 4 more damage on it. Like, that's a big poke in the early game, and it really sets you ahead on tempo.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very nice little piece of incidental damage pump, and it's got a nice off-zone block as well.
Yeah,
+3, but I mean, we're the void symbol.
Yeah,
what are we gonna do?
And damage pump is kind of at a premium in the void symbol. It's not something that you commonly have on anything but your big finisher moves. So being able to get it somewhere else to make your pokes a little bit more potent is really, really nice.
In a package and a character that's all about pumping speed, the damage pump is going to be really,
absolutely
nice.
And it's very easy to achieve.
We got a nice little tech piece up next.
Yes, 3 copies of Training with Gunhead. This is here to tech against throws primarily. We don't have anything that really improves our checks, but it does help you get a little extra speed if somebody does breaker you, which is really, really nice.
That is very cool.
Yeah, it is a nice little incidental synergy, but it's primarily there to protect you against throws. Throws are definitely not healthy for most 7-handers.
Yep. It's nice that a lot of the defensive characters under these symbols can be like, here's a few Confused, here's a few Gunhead, here's a few Spookies. I'm going to be real safe from your throw attribute cards.
Yep, absolutely. Get those throws away from me. I don't like that. Next is 2 copies of Fruits of Our Labor. This is primarily here for its low block, but it also has a fantastic deadlock form in order to rip cards out of your rival's hand. But it also allows you to clear progressive during your rival's turn when they're throwing a whole bunch of attacks at you and you're blocking. Sometimes you get a little desperate and you just gotta get stuff out of there.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we talked about how strong clearing our defensive progressive difficulty is because of how suspect all of our block modifiers are on the void symbol, so it's another just kind of instance of that.
Yeah, and it is pseudo speed reduction by removing those cards and clearing that progressive. It makes your life a lot easier.
Then we got a little bit of damage reduction in these guys right here.
Resistance, absolutely a fantastic card in Iida 3. It has a breaker, it's a mid block. but it also commits itself to give -2 damage, and anything that commits itself as a cost and is a spam in Iida III is a very, very abusable card. It allows you to commit to give your rival's next attack -2 damage, and then you also just get to ready it and then do it for the next one when they do swing it in again. The other incidental element, there is a lot of stun going around lately, so being able to cancel a stun can be really impactful when your rival has just not factored that into their plans.
Yeah, there's a lot of stun too in the meta right now. I mean, Capture Net is on almost every deck on those symbols.
Almost every Tokoyami deck that I have seen lately is running Todoroki 2 in the side for going second.
Yep.
So being able to cancel his stuns is really, really impactful.
Those decks are all also running Ice Walls anyway,
Yes.
so just more and more and more stun too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the last foundation in our deck.
4 copies of Gotcha. This card has it is ubiquitous with Void decks for being the only 0 diff. That will change once we get
For now.
that will change once we get the Eraserhead 2 starter deck. But this card becomes a lot better when you're running Engine Rush. Being able to commit this foundation for the cost of Engine Rush in order to give it a little extra speed and be able to threaten that if it's not blocked, draw 2 cards is a really nice bit of incidental synergy. You can really make an Engine Rush very, very threatening. If your rival doesn't have a whole lot going on for them, you can also use your heroic lineages in order to get extra damage on there to make your Engine Rush really, really threatening and make it one of the better pokes in your deck.
It's a very nice incidental stun hate as well.
Yes.
It's kind of cool if you think your opponent's going to be throwing multiple stun moves at you, you can stun this minus speed, ready it with Iida,
Yup.
have it ready to stun again as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that is the whole deck.
That is the main deck.
It's a pretty tight main deck.
Yep.
Huh?
It is 60 cards, I believe. It is a very efficient deck to play out there. And it's very good both offensively and defensively. But the thing that you have to keep in mind when you're playing this deck is you have to pick your moment. You have to kind of play Iida 3 like a squishier Iida 1, where you take advantage of the pokes that you can get in, wear them down a little bit, and then you make your life infinitely easier for when you need to make that big push.
Yeah, you've definitely got a very, very tight, neat, efficient package. Very much designed around seeing the kicks that you want to see as fast so you can just start setting up, generating your momentum, getting your pokes in, and just setting up your big finishers before your opponent can really, really stabilize too hard.
Exactly. The character's face says all of his abilities are about efficiency. It's about making things more efficient for you to make those pushes or to keep yourself alive. And so that's what the deck is centered around. It's made to be efficient.
But of course, when our nice, tight, efficient package in the main deck isn't working, we do have a sideboard we can go into as well.
Absolutely. So let's start with the Shadow Man himself, Kurogiri. This guy has fantastic synergy with the existing copies of Dissolving the Conflict in the deck. And he is a great way to keep yourself alive in those hyper-aggressive matchups where you're just like, okay, the answers that I have aren't good enough. I need a way to keep myself alive against these really, really big attacks. And being able to use Kurogiri and select what your rival is going to send at you is a really good way to take control of those matchups. And it does shift the dynamic of the deck from a tempo-based mid-range deck to a full control.
Yeah, I mean, Kurogiri is just a very, very common staple side in pretty much most decks on his symbols, and has a lot of really, really good synergy with the kick package as well. He's a great poke character in general. Wants to play that nice long game while he sets up, and he's just kind of just guy you board into when you're just feeling really threatened, or maybe you need to just kind of stall a little bit of timeout, or just have really, really good interactions against your opponent's character or the cards in their deck.
Absolutely. He is a good silver bullet against a lot of decks. Next, we have one more copy of Dissolving the Conflict. This is to enable Kurogiri to be even better in those matchups where he is already going to excel. And it also is fantastic when you're Iida to keep yourself alive in a lot of situations too. Next, 2 copies of Bloodcurl. This is your anti-Kirishima button. This is your anti-Momo button. These are the things that are going to make sure that you are turning off your rival's character and making sure that they are playing the game on your terms this turn.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just in such a good meta for Bloodcurl as a card right now. There are so many threats in the format that this is such an instant, easy answer to.
Yep.
And just being a 7-hand size character, we get to play it so much more efficiently than a lot of the other decks on these symbols do.
In this meta, it is tempting to play it in the main board. I cannot lie there.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's a really, really good Metacall.
Yep.
Another one, really good Metacall.
Yep. This is 3 copies of Learning the Standards. This card is absolutely fantastic into those string decks that are going to rely on combos. This is probably the best answer to Double Jab Pummel in the meta. Being able to, when your rival telegraphs that their next one is going to be big and they're giving it a whole bunch of plus to the check, going, hey, no, play something else, is a really good way to counter that. Any of those decks where you just have to take incidental damage, Learning the Standards is really good into to disrupt their flow and how they play things. So it's a good card to keep yourself in the game while taking damage.
Yeah, I mean, the first ability also just, like, is really, really nice in certain scenarios where, like, you know, Momo and Co. are building their quick creates and stuff, like in... if you're fighting Hatsume Mei by any chance, you kind of just win for free if you find it by turn 2. So that's an interaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then rounding off the sideboard, we just kind of...
we got a 4th copy of Confused, a 3rd copy of Fruit of Our Labors, and a 4th copy of Training with Gunhead against any of those decks that are just all throws all the time. You really need those extra bits of throw hate, but they are there to preserve your life total.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Just kind of upping the max on your little pieces of hate for when they're really good little pieces of hate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I 100% agree.
And I guess that's our whole Void Iida III deck, isn't it?
That's the whole deck.
Thank you so much, man, for coming on the channel as always and talking about this super cool deck. It's definitely been in quite a few fights on the channel so far, and I'm sure you're only going to see more of it as we continue to play around with it.
Absolutely. You will see more Iida in the future, I promise.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you really, really enjoyed it, and if you've been messing around with Iida 3 or any of the Iidas really on your own, we've got some more spicy stuff in the grapevine right now. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think of the deck, what you're doing with it, and if you really liked what you see as a whole, feel free to subscribe, drop a little like. We got some really cool stuff coming in the future as always. At Alliteration Gaming, we are always pumping out premium MHA CCG content non-stop and faster than anyone else on the market. So fast. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Give him the heroic lineage peace sign.